Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 219 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who is killing gods with me tonight?
The god of poutine, Michael K. Hughes, and that's a joke for the four of us and absolutely no one else.
Aries! It's me, Nate.
And hi, I'm Barry, where you could, I'm from Premium Edition Games, where you could pick up our latest titles at premiumeditiongames.com. Since Mike said I could go ahead and plug, so I'll go ahead and plug right now.
I always tell everybody when they plug in the beginning in case that way people don't stick around. People are like, what the fuck is this? This is not a YouTube video. That's never happened before. We are here to talk about a game that I've been meaning to... Well, actually, this was actually Mike's idea.
Yeah.
Because you were playing Hades and you were into the Greek mythology.
Oh yeah, I've always meant to play this one too. This is the original God of War from 2005. I have no history with this series outside of playing 2018 once, so I wanted to go back to the original.
Okay, and this developed by Santa Monica Studios, came out the PS2. It still holds up. I played this on an emulator because I wanted to.
You played on an emulator? No.
Hey, I actually didn't cheat because I couldn't get the save states to work on the Steam Deck PS2.
So you didn't cheat because it wouldn't let you cheat, not because you didn't want to cheat.
No, I always want to cheat. I just wasn't able to, so I didn't.
Okay, keeping you honest.
Yeah, who would cheat in this game?
I would have.
Yeah, I think I would have towards...
But there's multiple parts where I would have saved state just so I don't have to make some of those jumps over and over again that I kept failing on.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, I said in the group chat that I absolutely would have abused save states on a part you're alluding to there we'll get to later.
There were a couple parts in this game that I was like, fucking A, I want to cheat, but I can't. But yeah, no, I own this on PS2. I had the PS3. I think I have two versions of the PS3 collection because I bought one and then I bought another one when it had everything because it was cheaper.
The Saga.
Yeah. And I've never... The only God of War is my only history of God of War. I played this twice in my life at some point, and then I played Ascension, and that's it.
Oof.
And I heard Ascension is the worst, right?
Yeah, I looked up a ranking before to figure out if I really wanted to do this or not. And it's all the handheld ones are towards the bottom.
Oh, I like the handheld ones.
The handheld ones are pretty good.
Yeah.
No, Ascension isn't even a handheld one. Ascension
PS3.
is
The PS3 one.
I thought it was supposed to be God of War 4 back when I remember it being announced, and then it turned out that no, it is not God of War 4.
No.
Huh.
It is. It's just boring.
Yeah, that's
Which
fair.
is
From what I vaguely remember, that is fair.
I think that's the worst critique you could give a God of War game is that it bores you.
A prequel set 6 months after Kratos murdered his family. Who asked for that?
We needed to really know to fill in the gaps about how he was feeling.
It's we need another game, but we can't screw up the timeline. Shove it in here.
Exactly. They wanted more God of War because it sold, and they didn't want to do God of War 4 yet because they had other plans. So they said, let's do this. That's why all the handhelds were prequels, because they said, well, we can't go forward. Let's tell backstories.
It's working out so well for Kingdom Hearts. Let's do it too.
Kingdom Hearts just, I got nothing.
It's bananas.
That storyline makes no sense, and I'm not far enough in for where it shouldn't make sense. But yeah,
my wife swears it does, and I just call her a liar.
It makes sense, but you really do have to research it.
I feel the more you research that series, the less sense it makes.
Sometimes.
It's like Dark Souls. You got to read all the item descriptions to really get the lore.
For Dark Souls, you just watch body vid videos on YouTube. That's how you get the lore. You don't bother reading anything.
There is a Kingdom Hearts game that was just so ludicrous. I texted my brother and I was like, this is so fucking dumb. Why do I keep investing time in this series? And then they made Kingdom Hearts 3 and I was like, this is the coolest thing.
I couldn't do Kingdom Hearts 3. It just didn't jive with it.
It's so polarizing.
I really loved it. And then
that's not why we're here.
Welcome to God of War, talking about Kingdom Hearts 3.
Hey, when this podcast is over, this podcast goes sometime.
Yeah.
When Donald Duck and Kratos killed Medusa, I thought that was a little too far.
I thought we were here to talk about the time Kratos played golf.
God, is he in a golf game?
Yeah, Hot Shots Golf on PSP, I believe it is. He's a character.
That's funny. I love stuff like that, though. I mean, one thing you bring up a good point that this really became Sony's mascot for a long. I mean, still is pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
They love their Kratos.
It got me to buy the PS3 version of Mortal Kombat 9 because Kratos was a playable character exclusive.
Uh-huh.
Oh, really?
That's a good reason. I mean, that's still a good reason. I mean, you get extra character. I don't think you got anything. I mean, it wasn't Spawn on the Xbox version.
No, there was nothing on the 360 version of Mortal Kombat 9, but PS3 got Kratos. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, then I guess I'll get that version.
He's also an exclusive character in that PlayStation Smash Brothers game.
Obviously.
And he was a bonus boss in the PlayStation version of Shovel Knight.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
I still can't get over that he's in Shovel Knight.
When I played that game, I beat that game in one sitting, and like when he showed up, I was like fangirling, just like, oh my god!
Yeah, that surprised me because I beat that game and then it was years later and we did an episode on it when somebody mentioned like, yeah, Kratos is in this game. I'm like, what? And like I looked up what you have to do to fight him. Like he's a completely hidden boss. Like I was like, okay, that's cool.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's completely hidden. You have to do you have to do certain things to activate him.
I actually like the fact that the Battletoads are in the Xbox version of that more because that's like, they got you. You're recognizing these guys still exist. That's awesome.
I mean, that's a fair. No one else is. So
one of them was in Killer Instinct, kind of.
Kind of.
Why the different skins in Killer Instinct? The 3 other Toads, or
there's only 3 Toads.
I forget Killer Instinct came out.
I never played Battletoads, so.
You want to play a difficult game? There's one for you.
I'm thinking of Ninja Turtles. I'm so dumb. Okay,
yeah,
let's
3 Battletoads.
Yeah, that's all 4. That's
Turtles.
more Kombat. Not more. Injustice 2, I think. Right?
Oh yeah. God damn, everyone got
more
Secret
Kombat?
Fighters.
I can't remember. It's one of them.
It was Injustice 2.
Okay. So the kind of
Wow, we went full circle there. That was great.
Well, like, I mean, that's the thing with Kratos. Like, I mean, I remember when this game came out. I remember being excited for it because I actually just cared about games when they just came out. Now I'm like, I'll see it in 10 years. And like, I remember it being a big deal. I feel like this was probably a Game Informer cover at one point. It had to be. Like, everything with this game just looked epic for my high school brain. We're like, I get to kill things, and this looks awesome. And it does fit that hack and slash. Like, I mean, I was happy to say when I played this, in 2023, it was still fun just to kill things. Like, it still is a fun hack and slash game with cool combos and it still stands out. It still looked good for a PS2 game.
That's
probably look better than
fun. The most fun the game has to offer is just mindlessly killing things. It's whenever it tries to do anything beyond that it starts to get wishy-washy.
I think the problem going back to this game in 2023 is the fact that there are so many better controlling games of this genre, including other God of War games, that it's hard to go back to the first one expecting to play like, Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or God of War 3 or something like that. But it's a lot stiffer. It's like early Resident Evil in that sense. Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, doing like platforming and stuff is not as intuitive as it should be. But the story is what at least for me, drove me back to replay. Is the story is just so good.
I think we all landed somewhere around. This feels exactly like what you would expect a 2005 PS2 game to feel like.
See, it helps when you never played Bayonetta and you haven't played Devil May Cry in a while and you never played really any other God of War stuff for Ascension. It helps then. It doesn't feel as dated.
That's true.
When you're stuck in a different year, apparently, still.
I don't know, man.
Wait till you get to the Devil May Cry and Bayonetta games.
I played some Devil May Cry, but it's been a long time.
Devil May Cry 1 and 2 are very stiff, too. Like, they're same thing. Devil May Cry 3 is a little better. 4 and 5, I think. 5 especially is amazing.
5 is really good, yeah.
But Bayonetta is the same. Like, Bayonetta is fluid. Like, you play Bayonetta, you're like, oh my god, it's hard to go back.
I do really want to play that. But I think sometimes it helps that I haven't played newer games. So when I go back to some of these older ones, I'm like, this is cool. Because I don't know any better.
Now, with your emulation, Mike, did you emulate the PS2 version or the PS3 remaster?
Just the PS2 version.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to screw around with the PS3 version.
I only played the PS3 version.
I should have. I mean, I have it actually, next to me. I just didn't want to load up my PS3 again. I already did that for Infamous 2. I didn't want to do that again. I wanted to play this in the Steam Deck, and I went through a lot of trouble to get this to run on the Steam Deck, and then not because my flash drive couldn't. I had to reformat my flash drive because it was too big of a game. Because this is a fucking huge ass PS2 game, by the way. So,
just crazy considering like there's only like really 2 environments. Or like 2 big locations just in different areas of it.
Oh my god.
I mean, mostly one location. You're mostly. I mean, you're right. Pandora and Athens. Yeah.
believe how much of this fucking game takes place in the Pandora Temple. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Which, like, when I went, when I played it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember, like, there's a lot of different environments, and you go to a lot of different places, and it's like, oh no, you just spend, 4 hours in Pandora's Temple going through different rooms.
like it takes place, I don't know, somewhere around the halfway point, but I still feel like you spend half of the game there. It's insane.
You do. I want to say you definitely do in Pandora because there's so much stuff in there. There's so many different challenges that they make and just they pad that.
For sure.
And then the end of the Pandora's Temple is just insult to injury too. It's like after all of that.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the ship level first, which was the one that was like showcased in the trailers and the demos, and I think might be like one of the coolest parts of this game is you start off on a ship and I don't know why you're on the ship again. I don't remember what the reasoning was. I didn't pay attention to the story.
I think you're coming back from some battle.
Because we need a big set piece opening for the game.
Honestly, it's one of the better video game openings, I think.
Oh yeah.
Like it just puts you in the action right away.
It pretty much sold me on the rest of the game. Like, holy crap, that was a blast. Is the rest of the game going to be like this? And the answer is no, it's not.
We put all our money up front, and we put our coolest moment up front, so that way if you don't get very far, you still get the coolest moment.
I hate when games do that.
Me too. Because when I start a game, I'm usually almost always committed to it to the end, just because I have a weirdness. Well, in a podcast.
Well, you can take this one off your Games of Fun bingo card because I'm going to bring up Alone in the Dark 2008. That opening sequence and that is actually pretty cool. And then, the rest of the game is just a fucking mess.
Except this game still holds. I mean, it's still fun, the rest of it. But yes, I'm like, well,
oh yeah, it's just. I'll save it for the end, but I can definitely see why 2 is everyone's favorite because this feels like the blueprint for what could have been great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I really like on the ship when you need that key from the captain, and he's like in the Hydra, and he's like, "You came back for me," and Kratos is like, "I did not come back for you."
He just drops him.
It's so good.
Well, Kratos is such an asshole, though. Like he just doesn't give a shit about
That's
nobody.
why kids, whether you be an elementary, middle, high school, or even college kid, you almost related to him. Like you thought he was cool because mid 2000s. That was it. That was like the angst. It was the don't give a shit edge. It's so edgy. Like that. He was really the personification of edgy. And I was like, ooh, I can relate. That's awesome.
Same year the Shadow of the Hedgehog came out.
Yeah. Case in point.
That's funny.
Edgy was big at that age or that era.
Yeah,
for better or for worse.
But just everything with the Hydra, like how you keep fighting the Hydra as you're going across the ship, and like it's such an epic freaking fight. Like everything with that ship is just super cool and does a great job of teaching you the game. Like it definitely is got to be the best moment of this game.
You don't even realize it's a Hydra at first because you're fighting the heads one at a time, and it's not until you get to the boss battle at the end and they all come together. Holy crap!
Yeah,
it really stands out, and I mean, again, it's that video game thing, and I like that they did that because it does get you in the mood. I mean, I definitely agree that I felt like this is the best part of the game because I was getting a little bored at times with this game. I was like, but it was still fun enough.
You mean you weren't glued to your seat when you were walking through the desert looking for 3 sirens?
Oh my god!
Oh god, that was bad.
That probably killed Mike because he had to play with the sound on.
Yeah, I did. Oh no, I had other issues with that part, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
The one part about the Hydra.
I'll say right now. My issue with that part was I think I walked past. I kept hearing her, but I couldn't find her. I don't know if my game glitched where I had to reload it and then I could find her. So I was running around for a while. I'm like, where the hell is she? And I just could not find her. So yeah, I just reloaded it, and then as soon as I saw her, I just hit her, and then I was good.
It's not great.
No, I was gonna say the one problem I have with the Hydra fight, as awesome as it is, the whole opening set piece, is it set a precedent for future God of War games where they always felt like they had to one up each other. That opening scene had to one up the previous game.
Oh yeah,
and
is it 2 that you're like fighting the Colossus right at the beginning?
Yeah, 2 is the Colossus, and 3 you're climbing up the Olympus and the giants and all that stuff. And
wow.
It was like always like the set piece just got bigger and bigger, and I felt like it was done for spectacle, not for story. And
Yeah,
to me,
I
that
can see
took it
that.
out. It was like, I know what you're doing. You're doing this big opening thing, and then the story's going to come to this giant climax, and then something's going to happen, and it's going to quiet down and go slowly build back up. And it's like, it's the same like pattern over and over and over repeated. And you don't see it if you only play the first game, but as you play the series, you're like, all right, come on, we're doing this. We're going through the motion, you know. And when it's a short game, it's not so bad. Like, you know, you play with Mega Man X, like it has an opening level, then you get to the selection where you get to pick the Robot Masters. That's fine. That's what you expect. It's a shorter game. That's the experience. But when you're talking a 20, 30 hour narrative story, as they definitely go longer and longer each entry, it's just like, really, we're going through yep, all right, it's the 10-hour mark. Here's where this is going to happen. It starts to get predictable a little bit.
I don't know if I'd like that. Like, one thing I liked that this game is just long enough.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't overstay its welcome. You know, I got to play a fun action, beat 'em up game. I had its moments. I had annoying platforming, but it was just long enough. And I think I beat this game in like 2 days.
This is one of those games that I think I would have liked it to have been a little more linear. Just
you want to streamline.
Just set pieces, big battles, and then move on. I would disagree that it doesn't overstay its welcome because of the aforementioned Pandora Temple. Like, cut that thing in half, put another location for Kratos to travel to, mix it up a little bit, because my god, this game loves the color brown, tan, whatever.
But that's also early. That's also the timing of the year, I think, too.
That's
like we said, ancient, great.
It's still there though. How many games even today are brown scale, gray scale? Yes. Like they're afraid of color. Like, oh, lack of color means mature. Color means kiddie. And it's like, no, you could have mature with color, and you could have gritty with color, and you could also have childish with gray.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely that edgy color scheme. Red is used too. A lot of red.
No, they do like red in this game.
A lot of red.
Yeah. I mean, it is cool how like you get bits and pieces of the story. Like you eventually find out that Kratos killed his family, and that's why he hates. And that's why he's after Ares, because Ares tricked him into murdering his daughter and wife, and he has their ashes on his body, and that's why he's pale white with red tattoos.
Which is just like
the red tattoos. You find out later on, like in another game, why he has those.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's actually you have to play the PSP game, one of the PSP games, to find out that reason.
That's funny.
But that was like, when I played this in high school, I was like, that blew my mind. That little story bit where I was like, oh, his family is grafted to his body. Like I'd be depressed too if that happened.
Same. When I played this in 05, I thought, okay, that's pretty. Now I'm like, whatever. But,
a constant reminder of what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot that it was Ares that tricked him into doing it. I thought it was a different god that made him do it, but it was Ares. It's been a while.
Not a whole lot of gods even referenced in this.
Because this game is much more contained. I feel, because I want to say it's 3 when you get to all the gods, right?
Yeah.
3 has a lot, yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you even fight. I don't remember anything about Ascension. Like, I can't remember what you fight, nothing.
I think one problem I do have with, and it's not necessarily this game, it's more the series and going into 2 and 3, is I feel like this game, again, the same preset that they set up, is they have this ultimate, and I'm sure we'll talk about the ending, but it has like such a good ending and a good ending part that when you finish the game, you're like, I can't wait to see where they go. And I feel as good of a game as 2 is, they didn't capitalize on it because it's just like he kind of like tosses what he gets away and like, all right, yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. I'm like, wait, but that was such a good setup. And the same thing at the end of 2 for me. Like I was like, oh, I can't wait for 3, and then 3 opening scene and it tosses that whole premise away. And I'm like, why? You have this great setups. It's like setting up Thanos and then killing him in the first 5 seconds of the movie and moving on. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What you set up this big bad and you but like and I feel like this game had such a good setup going forward that was wasted.
Funny you mentioned Thanos, because my first thought when you said that was Ultimate Alliance ends with the stinger of Galactus coming back. And then Ultimate Alliance 2, it's just a throwaway line that you can get if you talk to Thor in this one particular part. Like, oh, hey, tell us how you beat Galactus. He's like, oh, no, that's boring. Let's do anything else but that.
Oh, I hate that. Like, if you're going to do a cliffhanger, you got to pay it off. And while this didn't give a cliffhanger ending, it gives a setup ending. It was like the whole thing is like, wow, now Kratos is God of War. What are we going to do with that interesting premise? Now he's one of the gods. And they throw it away at the beginning of 2. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, that's such a cool premise.
See, I never played 2, so I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. He literally throws it away. He's like, I don't want to be a god anymore. And I'm like, what? But that you could do so much. You could literally walk up to Zeus at this point. You're a god. Nope. You could imagine playing as a god.
The developer said I'm too OP. I have to get rid of my powers. We got to Metroid this shit.
Well,
yeah.
I started 2 immediately after this game because I love 2. There's a bit more story set up as to why he abandons godhood.
Yeah, the story set up.
I don't care about being a god anymore. Like there's a bit more into that.
There's story set up, but the developers chose to do that. But you have this great setup at the end of 1 where you're now a god. Think of the things the writers could have done with it. And instead they opted to do virtually nothing with it and toss it away. There's reasons for it, of course, but they could have played with that premise more. He could have still tossed it away later on. But it's like right in the beginning of the game. And I'm like, what? And I did the same thing. I beat 1 and I went right to 2. So I was ready to go hardcore because I got the PS3 collection. So I was like, oh, 1 and 2, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the whole setup of the first game is wasted on that. And it almost makes the first game, to me, feel lesser because it's like all the things you're doing don't matter anymore because it's all going to be tossed away. Like, you kill Ares. Like, that's the only thing that really matters.
And also, the ending to this one made me laugh because it shows like, it's like, oh, and Kratos was God of War for years and years. And it shows like, the Iraq War. Like he had a hand in like starting the Iraq War, and I was like, that's kind of bold.
That is bold.
Oh,
you know,
so
Mike,
that.
you might be surprised to know that I did not start 2 after this. It's usually my shtick, or I immediately played the sequel after we play a game for the show.
I didn't either.
Well, you always have something else to do.
No, I jumped right into my next game, but yeah. I also didn't want to. I learned my lesson after I played Uncharted 1 through 3. Yes. One after another before I started this podcast, and I will never do that again. I got so burned out with 3. I don't know if 3 sucked or I just was fucking tired of Uncharted.
See, I did that with Uncharted. I love doing marathons like that personally. I did 1 to 4 and Lost Legacy back to back, and I thought 3 was amazing. I loved 3 way more than 2. I thought 2 was overhyped personally. But for me, the thing that changes when you do things like that is when it goes to a new system. It's jarring. Like Uncharted 4, which was my favorite, the controls are different than 1 to 3. So when you do so many hours back to back, and then the controls switch on you, and I think that's probably going to be similar if you do God of War 1, 2, and 3 back to back, and especially if you do 4 and 5 right after that, controls are very different.
I can't personally. That's why after that time, I stay away from doing that. But I mean, I don't know. I get too burned out on a type of game. Like even before this podcast, I used to play all these different type of games. Like if I play a beat 'em up type game, I'd want to play something different, like a shooter or an RPG or something different. I can't play the same genre over and over again, or I get burned out. I've noticed personally.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No, but with this game, like the whole premise is after you have the ship, you go to Athens because Ares is destroying Athens, and Athena is asking you because I guess you're working for Athena now after you find out Ares betrayed you back then. I guess that's what the story is.
Yeah.
You're helping Athena.
Yeah. I mean, you're in Athens a decent amount of time, but I mean, after going through Pandora, I was like, I'm ready to go back to Athens now. Like, I'm tired of this place. I don't want any more in this stupid place.
And you know what they say? Screw you, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Briefly.
That was a good part. That was a good part.
Too briefly, though. I wish there was more of that.
Funny you spend less time in Hades than you spend in the temple.
Spend less time than... I mean, it's a very small part.
The temple is the real hell. The hell we made along the way.
I mean, Athens wasn't too bad. I also missed an ability in this game for a little bit because I didn't go down a hallway and I got confused and had to look up a video where you get the Zeus power up where you can then throw lightning bolts. I completely missed that at first.
Oh yeah, you need that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you really, really do.
So you probably did like some laps on the rooftops of Athens.
I did, yeah. I was like, am I missing something? And when I went back, I'm like, oh, I didn't go this way. Oops.
He was getting his cardio in.
I did a lot of wondering where to go at several points in the game, and it's like, because a lot of it's just not intuitive. Like, there's a point, I think it's when you're leaving Athens, and there's this big pit in the road, and you have to swing on this rope to get over it.
Oh, yeah.
But the rope is barely on screen.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to pull up a video or a walkthrough or something. It's like, jump on the rope. I'm like, what fucking rope? What are you talking about? And I go in and it's like an inch hanging down the top of my screen. I'm like, oh my
It's
God,
like
we're
one
doing
pixel
this.
wide too, and it
Oh
like
my
blends in
God.
with the background. Yeah.
PS2 for you.
You know,
You know,
This is
things
still
like
the
that.
era when games were made a certain way too.
Mm.
Like they weren't as friendly as stuff would be in the 360 era. Where it
Things
would
like
be-
that are where you look at quality of life improvements, like
Yeah.
pushing a button and having like a line draw where you're supposed to go. You don't have to use it, but it's very helpful when you get frustrated as opposed to quitting and going, screw this, I've ran around the roofs enough times. Like I could probably
Right.
do roofing work. Like just pushing a button and being able to say, oh, I go this way. It would be so helpful. And that's why more games do that now. But it's also a product of the time where it's like, hey, you're not going to get assistance. You get good, as they say.
I think I complain about it on every episode I'm on anymore, but we're so spoiled today.
Oh,
Like,
Uh-huh.
going back to these old games is such a coin flip whether it's going to be a nightmare or not.
It just, I mean, that's also one reason why I like cheating too, because I feel like it helps me give my quality of life part that I need for older games.
So I played on the PS3 collection as well, and I really hated that to open up doors, you had to mash R2 because the PS3 doesn't have like any support back there for those buttons. So I felt like I was going to break my controller just trying to open a fucking door.
It's like, "Rah!"
Yeah.
I mean, that's also the time. This is. I want to say. I know people have said this before, and I was reading it. I'm going to read it later. But isn't like this one of the big games that really starts off the QuickTime event thing nature?
Yeah. It was like at
It's-
the forefront.
Definitely one that's most associated with it.
But they weren't, because I remember a bunch of QuickTime events, but they weren't like too egregious. A lot of them just popped up when you were fighting like bigger enemies. Like there wasn't any, like, you know, when you're fighting
Medusa,
like, Ares.
Minotaur.
Yeah, like when you're
like
fighting
mobs.
bosses, they're not like popping up so you can do a bunch of damage to them, really.
I think this is the game, feel that most people feel responsible for it because it was the biggest game that incorporated it. And there's a lot of copycat games when there's a big title, and God of War had copycats. And because God of War did do QuickTime events, other games that copycatted it also did QuickTime events, thinking that was part of the successful formula, even though that was not part of the successful
Right.
formula.
Oh boy, did it have copycats. Like everything from Ghost Rider to Nightmare Before Christmas, or even Castlevania got in on it.
Yeah, but Castlevania was like a little better for it.
I like Lords of Shadow.
Yeah, I'll forgive Lords of Shadow for taking that combat system because it worked well.
I need to get that
I
out at
like
some
QuickTime
point.
events in games. Like I'm okay, except for the ones that happen during the cutscene when you're trying to eat chicken and crowds are
Yeah.
talking and all of a sudden you die. I don't like that one. Other than that, I don't mind them.
I think if it's established early that there's going to be QuickTime events, it has to be established early because, like you said, Mike, the worst part is where you get a big cutscene, you put down the controller, and you're like watching and you're enjoying, and suddenly you have to push a button and you die because you're like, wait, crap! I put down the controller. I wasn't expecting that. Like
That happened to me so back when that game came out, and I still make that joke. I was eating chicken. I remember that. Like I remember eating chicken, and all of a sudden Krauser killed me. I'm like, what? I thought it was a cutscene. I was trying to eat. So yeah, I'll never forgive that.
That game's real egregious about it because it changes the buttons that you have to push too. It's not the
Uh-huh.
same each time. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Like this wasn't bad. Like okay, the doors were a little bit annoying. Like I would have rather not had that, but all the combat stuff was fine. I don't mind. I kind of like QuickTime events sometimes. They're kind of fun just to have them.
And you don't have to use them in the combat.
No, you can just bait them out. And just
it's
keep
the
hitting them.
cutscene QuickTime events that are more annoying.
Oh my
But
god. I posted this in the group chat while we were all playing the game, but I love that when you go to like stab a Minotaur or rip a Gorgon head off, they always like slide on their back to rotate, so they're always in the same position. It's so dumb looking. I love it.
Yeah, I didn't really even notice it. I think I noticed it once or twice. I was just killing things quickly.
Because they only had the one animation and they had to use it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I like the Minotaurs. You shove your blades of chaos right in their mouth. Like, here you go.
I swear it's harder in this one than it is in like the other games to do that. I don't know why, but the first few I failed because I wasn't pushing circle fast enough.
You do have to push kind of fast, and my Steam Deck didn't really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That
My
might
Steam was like, "What are you doing?"
It was anytime they tried to get you to rotate the stick that I really had issues. It's not super precise.
Yeah, I lost a couple fights to that.
Well, also, Nate, what difficulty did you play this on?
Oh, I played on super duper easy.
Yeah, okay.
No, I was going for the platinum because like anytime I revisit a game, I'll look at my trophy list if it's available, and then I go, oh, I could get the platinum while I replay this. And the main game, you can do like a glitch and get infinite magic. So I did that, and that made it way easy until the very final boss. But the worst part of getting that platinum is the challenge of the gods, where I spent like 4 hours doing that, and I was gonna lose my mind.
That's too much.
See,
It sucked.
this was one of the first games I got for the PS3 because I got the Black Friday 2009 bundle, which came with this and Little Big Planet.
Nice.
So that's when I got my PS3, and I didn't play God of War on PS2, so I played it on PS3. It was my first game. I'm like, oh, nice. I was looking forward to playing it, and I loved the trophies because I was big into achievements. And until I beat the game and I got the trophy, and I went back and the game glitched on me and didn't give me one of the trophies for beating one of the bosses, even though I beat the game. So I don't have that trophy, but I have the beating game. Like, how does it work? And that's when I'm like, you know what? Trophies were cool. Trophies are dead to me now. Like, screw you. I was robbed in the first game I played.
So I just finished 100%ing Watch Dogs Legion this morning, and I had put in too much work to not do it at that point, to not get the platinum.
Yeah.
4 different trophies bugged for me. It required extreme measures of saving the game, saving it to the Ubisoft cloud, reloading it. It's like, I have to do this. I need to be done with this. I've gone too far.
I get what you're saying though. Like it was the sunk cost fallacy when I'm on like challenge 6 of Challenge of the Gods, and if you quit out, you have to start over. I was like, I'm too far in. Like I just need to see this through.
I loaded up Challenge of the God once, and I'm like, nope, I'm good.
So what is the Challenge of the Gods? I don't mess with other things usually in games.
Like big arena fights.
Yeah, it's like 10 rooms basically, and there's different objectives that you have to do. So the first room is you have to knock enemies off of the platform, but you can't like if you kill them, you just immediately fail. So you can't kill any of them. You have to do like I ended up using grab moves because they had shields, so it would just push them back. And then the final one is you have to kill enemies to make a platform rise that you're standing on, and it's 2 satyrs and then a bunch of the Cerberus pups, and they will just like they'll knock you off mid combo. Like I was trying to aerial attacks, they'll like hit you in the middle of the air, and then you just go flying off the edge. It was tough, but I somehow did it, and then I never looked back.
Impressive.
Yeah, no, thank you. Anytime I hear Coliseum type stuff, where it's like round after round after round, and any game that's not an RPG, I'm like, yeah, that's my spy.
I think the worst part is that I couldn't leave. Like once I was locked in, you can't leave and come back. Like you were just stuck in there. Like you couldn't turn the console off.
That's a quality of life improvement that needs to happen.
Well, they fixed it in 2. In 2, you can save in between the challenges, which was very nice. But yeah,
and this is earlier. I mean, this game probably was in development for years too, so.
Yeah,
it fits that time. I mean, that's why, like Mike said earlier, that's why it's hard sometimes to go back to these old games because of just the quality of life stuff. Like it can be difficult.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
this era, as we find out more and more in this show, those early 2000 ones are.
It's really hard.
Such a minefield.
There's some really great games. There's some really trash games that you think were good.
This is one of those examples too, where it sucks when a game is trapped on older systems. And if you want to play God of War right now, you PS2 or PS3, or you emulate it like Mike.
Or you can subscribe to Sony's $120 streaming tier.
Screw streaming.
God, it's on there.
Yeah, it is.
Does that even work? I've heard a lot of people complain about that.
No.
It worked. I started playing Alone in the Dark on there because I always liked the idea that you could look in your inventory by opening your jacket.
Oh, my condolences. Don't play that crap.
And it was fine. Like it worked fine, but I had my PS5 like with an Ethernet cable to my modem, so
he means the streaming worked fine, not the game working fine. Because I get
no, I quit.
But that depends where the area is too. I mean, the problem is streaming is not consistent regardless of where you are. So, but what I'm saying is, like, if they brought this and they were smart, capitalizing on Ragnarok, brought a collection of the first 6 games, like put them all on PS4, PS5, and did those quality of life improvements. Did like the Metroid Prime remake, that they just did on the Switch, where they fixed the controls and they made it even better. They took a fantastic game and made it better. If they did that with like God of War 1, I think That would be fantastic. And like the arena, like that prime example, being able to save, being able to leave and come back, stuff like that. The pushing a button to have a little line to help you out. Like I think they would actually elevate it, because like if you look at the Metroid Prime reviews now, sites are giving it a 10. They're like, not only was it a great game, but this was a fantastic remake. And if they did that treatment to the God of War 1, 2, at least 1 and 2, I think that would be phenomenal. And it begs it. I mean, it's 2005, so we're coming up on 20 years, around 18 years out.
That is a long time.
Like that's let's bring it back in for the newer generation. I'm surprised they haven't, because they could capitalize on Ragnarok right now. And I feel like they're not doing it. But
instead, they could make you pay $120 to have streaming and put it on there.
And it's still the PS2 version, I think, right? Not even the PS3 version?
No, it's the PS3.
Oh, is it the PS3 version?
Yeah, it's the PS3 collection.
Well, that's good at least. I mean, at least they did that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
But how well do you think a collection of like a revamped God of War 1 and 2 with the PS4 version of God of War 3, Ascension, and the PS3 versions of Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus all together? That would be amazing.
And put it on PC too.
It would sell. It would sell well too, because like, I mean, no big spoilers for Ragnarok, but like they reference stuff that happens in the game, but they don't walk you through.
Yeah.
Like, they don't walk you through like, okay, and then I was on a boat, and like I docked in Athens, and Athena was like, "You must stop my brother Ares."
That was one of those things too with when God of War 4 came out, because I'll forever call it God of War 4, because it was. They don't reference the first 3 games nearly as much. It was like, we're trying to do a clean break, and then they do Ragnarok, and Ragnarok's like, oh no, we're backtracking on that. The first games all exist. We're going to reference them. We're going to reference Chains of Olympus. We're going to reference Ghost of Sparta. We're going to reference all those things. And I'm like, thank you for actually being God of War 5 and not whatever 4 was trying to be, because I think it's a story. It continues.
I feel like, because like God of War 4 has like ties to the older games, but yeah, they don't really make reference, and I think that's because they were kind of stuck with like, well, do we need to play the other games? And what do you tell people? Like, yeah, you should.
Yeah.
But that alienated the fans, because they're like, well, we want to see the continuation of Kratos. This is a new Kratos. What happened between what? And I think 5 or Ragnarok is really backpedaled on that to please the fans and can capitalize on all the new fans they got in with the 4th game. And now would be a perfect time. Hey, here's a giant collection of the first 6 games. They're all playable again, so you don't need to hook up multiple different systems that aren't backwards compatible, and capitalize on it, make money on it. Nintendo did it with Mario at the 3D All-Stars collection, and it made bank. It sold like 8 million physical copies.
Yeah, but they shouldn't take Mario's or Nintendo's approach to that and only make it available for a certain time.
That was stupid.
What was the point of that anyway? Like, I don't get that.
FOMO, but it worked on me because I immediately bought it when it came out. So.
I wanted it, and when I saw that, I immediately said, "I'm not buying this shit." So
everyone bought, like, people bought it to play, like myself, and a ton of people bought it speculating it's going to be worth money because it's a limited print, in quotes. Every game ever released physically is a, quote, limited print, because no game is printed forever. They may print 1,000 copies, they may print 100 million copies, but it still eventually stops being printing. So
they're still making copies of Beautiful Joe out there.
Yeah, that one I would believe you on. Henshin a go-go, baby. But that's why it sold 8 million, because so many people were like, "Oh, this is gonna be rare," and you know what? It's not. You can get tons of physical copies. There's 8 million of them out there.
Pretty sure I still see new physical copies in stores every now and then.
Yeah,
I have to. I just don't care enough. The only game I want on there is Galaxy.
I will tell you, Galaxy is the only game worth playing in that collection.
That's not true at all.
No.
What are you talking about?
I played Sunshine. I played 64 on the show.
I played through 64, and that was like, I have very fond memories of 64, and that game shattered all of my memories of having fun as a child.
It did not age as well.
I agree with that, but Sunshine's still fantastic.
Sunshine is.
The only reason I want a Galaxy on there is because I think they made Galaxy where I can play with controllers and don't need to pull out my damn Wiimotes ever again in my life.
They called it Super Mario Sunshine because you play 5 hours of it, and then you're like, I'd rather see real sunshine. Turn it off.
Mount Corona, aptly named, is the worst level ever in any Mario game.
But back to I think I want to bring up my God of War also.
Yeah, like I wonder if they're not doing the God of War collection because of those 2 new games and how different they are compared to the old ones.
It's possible.
But still, it's easy. It's easy money, and at the same time, so there are some people who don't like ports, right? They go, "Oh, this is just a port of an old game. Who cares?" But for generations, you're talking 18-year-old games now. There's people who are graduating high school that weren't even alive when God of War came out at this point, which is so weird to say.
Yeah.
I feel so old saying it, but it's true. A lot of them won't care. You put a PS2 in front of them, they're going to be like, "What? I don't want this." So to be able to have easy access and not spend $120 for streaming ability, but to actually have easy access to play some of these great games, it's a good thing. And if you've already played it and you don't want to play it again, fine, don't play it again. But the industry doesn't revolve around you. There's so many people that have never touched these games.
And putting it on PC will also open up your audience too to people. And
Yeah.
Because I know God of War 2018 is on PC now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So Sony's starting to do that. They're starting to release on PC too. It's like, please do, because it's a different audience. I mean, I've completely become a PC gamer at this point. I still have consoles, but I have no interest at all in PS5 or Series X. But because I just PC now, it's weird.
I think more and more we need ports because of aging hardware, aging systems, and there are certain games as these shops close. Right, the 3DS shop is closing, the Wii U shop is closing. At the time of this recording, there are games that are digital only on those systems that never got ported, and they're gone. Like when those close, they're gone. All the time and effort coding, you can't go and just replay them, and that sucks. That really sucks. There should be a way to access them. We need to have games.
A legal way to
A legal way.
I know, Mike, you're waiting for your foothold.
I was.
Well, you know what? Sometimes with those systems, though, even emulation doesn't work right.
No, like DS games.
Like DS, 3DS, yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff that I'm never gonna. I mean, you couldn't, because it's just, you would have to wire a setup that just that doesn't work.
Exactly. So to be able to have those games ported to work with, like they did with Skyward Sword, right? They had the Wiimote, and some people didn't like that you had to use the motion control, and then they did it with the Switch where you could play it with the Pro Controller, and a lot of people were able to play that game for the first time. And that's what we need. We need updated versions of these classic games with some quality of life, and move on. And you don't even have to touch the graphics. Like the PS3 version, take the PS3 version because it already exists, and just do the
cleaner
quality.
looking then, I'm assuming?
Yes, much.
Okay,
more
that's
so.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They remastered it for PS3, so that already exists. They have that code. Just take that, bring it to PS4 or 5 and PC, and do some quality of life improvements. Put the saga all together, and even though Ascension may be boring, put it there too for people to see how boring it is. But at least it gives it a second life.
I think Bluepoint even did those remasters for PS3, and like Bluepoint's on fire with.
I mean, even
remakes.
just port the PS3 stuff. Like, I'd even be okay with that.
Well,
personally.
Origins, and there's the collection, the Origins, Ascension are all PS3, and then God of War 3 got a PS4 port, so they could just use that PS4 port, which again was stupid when that came out. Why wasn't that a trilogy? Why did you just bring 3 over? Why not 1, 2, and 3? Again, it's like Sony hates money. I don't know.
Sony's weird.
Like Nintendo.
Yeah,
Nintendo is
both.
worse with that. I used to be a big Nintendo fan. I'm really not anymore, just because of their business practices bother me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a cheap bastard, and there's no cheap bastard with Nintendo. So
Well, they are raising all their employees' salaries, so I wouldn't call them
good.
cheap. They're
doing something good.
And their CEO is the only CEO I know of that took a 50% pay cut when a product failed, just to make so the company didn't hurt.
Yeah, he's the only CEO that ever would, because they're not.
So I wouldn't call them cheap bastard. I would call them stingy in the sense of technology, and I would say that they don't always make the smartest business decisions, but they also make business decisions that no one else would think of that make them billions and billions of dollars.
I mean, they're a profitable company. They're not like they need. I just don't like that I can't wait to buy a game. Be like, I'll just buy it a couple years later. Like, I'll get to it. It'll be cheap, and it never gets cheap, and that bothers me. That's a personal problem, not.
Well, I mean, even some of the things like Tropical Freeze, I felt it should have included returns as well, done a 2-pack, and Pikmin 3 should have had 1, 2, and 3. The same with like God of War 3. Just make collections at this point. You already have older games. Make it accessible to everybody. But
I wonder if there's data out there to support that. Like, if you bring over like a trilogy of games, people will just like hop around in it. You know what I mean? Like they'll start one and then they'll be like, oh, I'd rather just go play 2, and then they play part of 2, and then they're like, actually, I'll just play the third one. So I wonder if there's like a little bit of data to support, like, well, if we do that, the player investment isn't worth it.
I don't think so. I don't think so because they, like Uncharted had a trilogy, and then they brought that over to PS3. Oh, like PS4, I mean.
And also PC.
True.
Yeah, PC Devil May Cry did a trilogy, HD 1, 2, and 3 for PS2.
Hey, what about the Infamous trilogy?
Yeah, I wish they would.
That's stuck.
Fix that first game.
Yeah.
First game's fine.
It's on a floppy disk. Can't get it off.
So with God of War, you also have a few different abilities that you get. That you have. I want to get back to this. You have the Thunderbolt. You have your main weapon.
Which Thunderbolt? Because you get.
You get 2, yeah. You get the Poseidon
Zeus's
one.
lightning, and then you get Poseidon's lightning.
Which doesn't make sense
at all.
They didn't know what to do, I guess. So Nate, what did you? Since you had infinite magic, what were you using all the time? You were playing with them hard.
So I went with Poseidon's Rage, and then that temple where the harpies infinitely respawn?
Yes.
Yeah, if you level up Medusa's Gaze to level 2, you can instant freeze them, and you get a shit ton of orbs. Ooh. So at that point, I'd leveled up all of my stuff that I had. But I mainly stuck with Poseidon's Rage and Medusa's Gaze, and then didn't really use... What's the fourth one you get?
Something to do with Hades.
Army of Hades. It's pretty useful.
I might have used that a few times.
It's too late in the game to get my interest. For me, I use Blades of... I maxed out Blades of Chaos.
Same.
I maxed out Poseidon's Rage, and I really just used... That was all I used.
Same.
I tried to use Artemis's purple sword that you get from her, but I just didn't care for it.
That thing is so weird.
It's not... Well, this game is very much about fast, and fast and range. That's just really how you're playing this game. I mean, the Blades of Chaos are very fast, long-range weapons that I didn't feel the interest in using a slower weapon, or less range weapon, too.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games where you kind of find the things that you like and then lean on them heavily.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was you hold one of the shoulder buttons and use square, and he corkscrews through the air, spinning the blades. I'm like, oh, this is my go-to.
Yep.
That one's rad.
I never did that ability.
I used the one where you send enemies up into the air too. L1 and X. That one was really useful at the beginning.
And then there's one where Kratos jumps in the air and spins the blades forward as like a corkscrew. It's pretty rad, or like a saw blade.
I remember it now that you mention it, but I didn't do it in this playthrough.
See, I did. I think this is one of those games where you do pick what playstyle works and you kind of stick with those. But at the same time, I also feel kind of cheap when it's like, oh, this move kicks ass, and I just keep spamming it, and then it's like, well, can the enemies just not just die now at the point, because that's all they're doing? Can just not waste my time and let me go to the next location, because it's almost like I'm cheating like a fighting game. It's like, stop using the same move. It's like, so that's all I'm doing. It works. But I'm broke. Don't fix it.
Oh man, you mentioned that part with the infinite harpies. I didn't realize at first that the statues, these you could move them to block where they're coming in, because they're raised up on another level. I'm like, oh, that's just set dressing. I can't do anything with those.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make these stupid jumps, and they keep knocking me off. But the jumps themselves aren't great to begin with, as we talked about earlier.
No, the platforming isn't super great in this game.
No. I really like the idea that this seasoned veteran of war, this living embodiment of hatred, when he walks on a plank, he sticks his arms out, he has to balance,
As you do.
He should. His rage should carry him across.
Right. Yeah, he's like, when I get over there, I'm going to disembowel you.
Hold on.
And the PS3 ones, do they use 6-axis to control his balance? Fuck.
No, thank God.
No, thank God they don't.
They did in Uncharted
6-axis.
1 and 2, I think they used the 6-axis.
It's so dumb. The thing does not work.
Yeah.
No, it's terrible. Especially you make a dragon game where you have to use the 6-axis to fly around.
Poor Lair. Poor Factor 5.
I really want to play Lair one day. I know they patched that, and I just have not played it yet.
That's what happens when you leave a property like Star Wars and leave a company like Nintendo. You make Lair and you go bankrupt.
Unfortunately. Oh, but the cutscenes in this game still hold up, even for I felt like the PS2, especially the comic book style ones where they're showing the past and everything's all bloody and it's showing you what kind of warrior he was before where he was gonna die from a barbarian, and then he called Ares and became Ares' slave essentially.
I was so sick of seeing that barbarian though. Like they do that shot a lot where he like swings the blades and the barbarian's head flies off. They showed that scene like every chance they got.
What's funny is they don't really talk much about the barbarian in quotes, but if you play previous like the PSP games, like you find out the backstory more of him.
The PSP games are also are they after he already became
No, they're before.
Oh, before he found Ares?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, Ares
cool.
is part of it, but
it's before he succumbs himself to Ares, right?
Correct. Like the one talks about his brother and why he's got the tattoos and all that stuff, and Ghost of Sparta, I think, is when he's just a warrior, right? He's just in the Spartan army.
So you don't have the Blades of Chaos then?
You do,
but
it doesn't fit the story.
It doesn't. Yeah.
They really just want the Disney route with, don't you want to know the backstory of this one character from this one scene? We're going to give him his own fucking movie and everyone's going to hate it.
Well, a lot of it's also other studios, right? Especially with the PSP. Like Ratchet and Clank got that, Uncharted got that, Jack and Daxter got that. Well, not Uncharted, I'm sorry. Jack and Daxter is what I'm thinking of. Where they said, here's another studio, make a follow-up because the main studio wants to move on and do other things.
Here's the cool thing about the God of War series, though, is they have like a bunch of behind the scenes like information out there, and there's like an hour and a half interview with like David Jaffe and Cory Barlog and Stig, who made 3, and then one of the guy who directed the first PSP game. And I want to say that the guy who directed the first PSP game had like they would go to Sony Santa Monica and they're like, okay, here's what we want to do, and Sony Santa Monica was like, no. They're like, this is what you can do, like, like you can do anything in this era and the rest you just leave alone, please.
Back on these the flashback cutscenes, it's nice to know that Kratos always lived by the practice of he never met a problem he couldn't just stab in the face. It's just his solution to everything.
When in doubt.
One thing I also thought was that I thought was kind of funny looking back at it, like how close the Pandora stuff is to Athens. Like they're so lucky that he just had to go through a small desert. He was not that far away from the temple to where Pandora's.
Plot convenience, of course.
Yeah.
Isn't it on Kronos' back too?
Yeah. It's on
Kronos.
Huh.
He's just walking around.
Kronos in 3?
Kronos was just in the area at the time. Just swung by.
Well, you summon him. You go through the desert, then you blow the horn, and you summon him.
Oh, that's right.
And you go on him, and I guess his punishment is to carry this gigantic, terrible maze dungeon on his back for his whole life. And
we
punished him.
We thought we spent a long time there. He lives there.
So sick of these fucking spike traps, man.
God, the Pandora's dungeon. I mean, that gets a little like I was like, okay, this is a lot of this game. It's just lots of platforming and lots of puzzles and traps, and I was like, I mean, it was still fun. I mean, I had a good time. It just it does take a while, and I had to look up one of the puzzles for moving the walls around because I was not figuring I was missing something.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when going in, I was like, the Poseidon swimming challenges is the worst thing. I really don't want to go back and do those, but I got to. And those were fine. And the problem I had with this playthrough is that room with all the saw blades, and you have to pull the 2 levers in time and make it to the door.
Yeah.
I failed that part like 6 times, and I was like, this is actually the worst thing in this temple.
That was a bad trap. I don't remember if it's the temple or after the temple. The worst puzzle for me was the one you had to hit a button and jump across these blocks
moving blocks.
Run into a door before it closes. That was the worst one for me.
Yeah.
In the game.
I think that was in Hades. I want to say
it's
maybe I don't know. It all kind of blends together.
World itself, but it might have been like leading after you come back from that. I can't remember exactly. But one of the puzzles, or not really kind of puzzle in the temple, I want to talk about the part you have to grab a guy in a cage and sacrifice him and have him burned alive.
Oh yeah.
Voiced by Rob Paulson. You just killed Raphael.
I mean, it's just funny because it's like, I mean, again, it's just there to show you that Kratos don't give a shit at all. But it's like, why is it a puzzle design where you just have a bunch of cages of people you captured that you're not apparent, like you just have them?
They take that concept further in the series, and in my opinion, I think it's in 3. They take it like way too far, like where it's just kind of gross and not boy. Yeah.
Well, don't you remember when they were advertising 3, they were prioritizing their whole Guts engine, and they were talking about how you ripped open the Minotaur, and like, look at the way the guts come out. Like, we made a proprietary engine just for this.
I mean, I don't know. That stuff doesn't, like, that one is like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool and neat. But like the torturing of an innocent person, I was like, oof. And that game, you play Guitar Hero too, so.
Okay. Well, I guess they really wanted to show you how Kratos is, a badass. I mean, he's not a good person. So
before we get too far away, because Michael had the same note as me about when you find Pandora's Temple, the guy who like lets you in.
I forgot. I totally forgot about this guy.
He's like business casual about it. He's like, this is Pandora's Temple, and thousands of people come here.
Who's like the keeper of the temple. He's like this half-rotten zombie guy. He's missing part of his face. I think one of his arms is gone. And he's just like, yes, hello, welcome to Pandora's Temple. Like, do you have an appointment, sir? He's just like the most normal voice ever for this disgusting-looking character. Like,
it's just throwing bodies on a fire or something, right? I think.
Right? Yeah.
Our piece will be bringing your body back to me shortly. Like you should not have this voice.
It's really good.
Also, I couldn't believe how many people how many dead bodies you see of people who tried to do this to do this. So, like, my God, that's a lot of people. It makes sense. Great.
That's why.
I mean, I was gonna say that's
like, everyone keeps calling him every 5 minutes. Like, I'm just gonna stay here.
It's just
everyone wanted
to me
in favor of the gods back then. So.
Yeah, it overstayed its welcome to me. It was just a little bit like I kept thinking I was almost done with this temple, that I wasn't.
No.
Like,
and this game also doesn't have very many bosses in it either, but the boss fights work. Like, you have, I can't even remember who. I know you have the Minotaur, you have the Hydra, the Minotaur, and then just Ares. I think that's all the boss fights.
Yeah. You got the mechanical bull and the Pandora's Guardian. I think is what it's called.
Oh, the Minotaur.
Oh, yeah. That's what I think of when I think Minotaur. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Minotaur.
That was a kind of cool fight, though. It wasn't terrible.
It goes on. I feel like it goes on a little too long.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
That's the majority of this game.
You got to cut it out.
But also PS2 era. I mean, things went on longer than they should. Like, I played a lot of PS2 games for the show, and like that's a very notorious thing where it's like, you think this boss fight should be over? Let's give him more health. Like, no, let's not.
I do like the sense of scale in that fight. Like, after you beat him and you shoot the log and it impales him, and you're like, oh, he's gonna go through the door, but he like hits the wall, and then his hoof like knocks open like just a little section for a Kratos-sized hole for him to go through.
Plot convenience.
Pretty much. There's a lot of that in this game. That's okay. I mean, it's still like it was still fun just to kill things. I mean, I was engaged to just keep playing this game, and I didn't remember very much. I mean, we have mentioned it, but I want to bring it up. Like, when you first see Ares, when you get to Athens, he's just this gigantic thing in the background, just murdering the city.
It's walking around, stomping around.
I mean, it takes them a long time to take all the cities too, because it's like, you have to be in Pandora's box for at least a little bit of time, like game wise, like for timeline of what's happening. Like, it can't be that like you got to been there for days. I'm assuming not.
I mean, when he keeps making the same loop. Like the same 3 feet, then turns around and he walks back.
Is it when he's climbing the temple or climbing the back of Kratos? The narration says he climbed for 3 days to get to the top. Something like that.
Maybe I don't remember.
Think you're right. Yeah. I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to the story.
There's no subtitles. So,
that brings up a good point. Yes, there wasn't any. I had to play this with sound.
Another quality of life improvement.
I mean, I do not understand why any game does not have subtitles. And like PS2, why didn't you just put subtitles in? But maybe it was we're too cool for subtitles.
They forced you to use sound.
I honestly remember, in the 360 era, people were upset that Assassin's Creed 2 was going to have subtitles automatically turned on, and I was like, "That's great for me because it helps me focus."
Yeah. Because I don't think Assassin's Creed 1 has subtitles.
No.
And I'm about to replay that coming up here, and I'm like,
you could turn them off though. So what does it matter? Why people play the weirdest hills to die on?
It's if it accommodates other people, people are going to be mad about it.
Yeah, every game should have options, customization options to allow accessibility for everybody to play the way they want to play. But so many people are like, no, you got to play it exactly like I play it, and that's it. It's the only way to enjoy it.
You can't play Castlevania 1 with save states.
Hey, if you play a game with
Only
cheating,
way.
you're just cheating yourself. In the
It's
great
the-
words of Ninja the Streamer.
Oh,
Yeah.
They just need to make all games all things to all people, and then everyone will be fine. It's so simple.
yeah.
I just love bringing up that stupid quote that he had when all he did is play Fortnite and make millions off Fortnite.
Yeah, the kicker too is if you play a lot of games, there's so many games that come out every single week at this point. It's impossible to play every game. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna pick what games you're gonna play, you want to enjoy them. Otherwise, why spend your time playing them? So
Right.
why get mad if someone chooses an easier difficulty or someone chooses subtitles or wants to invert their controls? Who gives a flying? It's their way of playing. It doesn't affect you. Just let people enjoy a game.
Yeah, I never understood that. Like, also, I don't understand people's haze of subtitles. Everything I watch has subtitles on.
Yeah,
because
like-
I like to read.
Yeah. I've been using subtitles for years, and like, there's a really funny IT crowd joke where they're taking some businessmen out to see a play, and they're like, "Does it have subtitles?" And they're like, "No, it's a play." And he goes, "Good. I can't read while I'm also trying to watch something."
Well,
So
see,
anytime people complain about that, I just think of
I can't do that either. Like, I don't like subbed anime because I have problems reading while focusing. But when it comes to video games, I absolutely put subtitles on for whatever reason. I like them in video games. I don't do it when watching like a YouTube video or TV, of course. Like that, I'll don't need it. But for a video game, for whatever reason, I just like subtitles.
I don't for YouTube just because usually they're not good.
But do you
They're
when you watch like
hilarious.
TV or a movie?
Oh god,
do
yeah,
you-
everything. Every TV
Yeah.
show has subtitles on every time. Or
No,
Netflix,
for me,
everything like
never.
that.
For me, it's just video games.
But I just like to read. Well, TV also I have to have subtitles because when you're editing a podcast and watching TV, it helps to read. And I read really fast
yes.
because I used to write a lot, so I can read fast. So
Did everyone do the sex minigame?
Oh, of
I didn't
course.
find it.
What do
You
you
didn't
mean
find
it?
What do you
No,
mean
I
you
didn't find it. I
it?
missed it somehow.
It's at the beginning of the
It's in
game.
the right-
I know, and I got out of the bed and ran away and went off to do
I mean,
whatever
you
I was
didn't-
doing,
you
and went,
didn't
oh,
hang
shit.
around that bed.
Yeah,
Oh,
you,
man.
you kill the Harjara, and then the story beat goes on, and you wake up in the bed or next to the bed. And it's right
That's
then.
insane. Everything I learned about sex, I learned from God of War 2005. I still have to have vases on the table next to me.
Yeah, no, I
Hey.
completely missed that minigame. I remember thinking like, oh yeah, and I just completely skipped it. I just ran off and kept going.
Mike wanted his Kratos to be a decent Kratos that only likes murdering and not sex.
Was
Hey,
was
if
your
the
was your wife
USA
in the
system has
room?
taught us anything when it comes to like violence is good, sex is bad.
It's true. I needed the orbs on the hard playthrough, so I muted the TV and just did it like shamefully, just like.
He's like, we're done here. Don't be here when I come back. Damn, dude.
It was funny. At least I was watching a video of it because I'm watching speedrun. They do it too, and at least you don't. It doesn't show anything because otherwise it'd be like San Andreas, where we got to pull our game now.
It shows enough. My wife's watching me play. She's like, I don't remember there being this many boobs in this
Oh yeah,
game.
there's a lot of boobs in
Oh,
this game.
boobs, yeah.
Because you got them and the Sirens and the Oracle. Which, fuck that Oracle. My God. That was the first part that I was like, oh God, it's going to be one of these games where she's like hanging from the rope and you have to figure out how to get up to her. And I'm just all over this courtyard like, what the hell do I do here? I can move this pillar? Okay. Why? What can I do with it?
Kratos.
Yeah, she's screaming the entire time.
Hey, she's holding on perfectly until you get up there, and you're like, oh, no, I got 60 seconds. I've been holding too long waiting for your ass.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that part was annoying too. I had a vague core memory somehow that I knew to push two pillars on top of each other to start this puzzle. Like it was in my head for some still.
Yeah, once I realized I could do that, I'm like, that's probably what I need to do. And then I couldn't figure out where to put them afterwards. Because I thought maybe I had to line them up so she could drop onto it, but then the camera's not doing me any favors with that. So I'm like, oh, that can't be it. Of course,
Yeah,
camera
you
doesn't do any favors anyway.
You'd think that would be easier than Kratos like jumping onto vines, going around, like
But you had to go on the mirror
Just
so you can
push-
activate the cutscene where he jumps and grabs her.
push the pillars like underneath her and just be like, okay, just let go. And then I'll drag
Hopefully,
you
I
over
lined it up
here.
right.
Yeah.
And make sure you don't bounce too much when you fall. Okay, like make sure you just fall straight and you stay.
I'll catch you, I swear. She dies
That's the
anyway.
annoying part. And then when you finally get Pandora's box in this game, that's another part that I completely forgot to go through all this trouble. You get Pandora's box. All right, we got it. And he just starts hauling this big box out And Ares like, oh, you got the box, okay. And he grabs a slate, like grabs ground or something and just throws it all these miles away and just kills you.
Yep, I loved that. It was a big FU after Pandora's Temple, but it was also like, I did not expect that. Well, bravo.
It's such a funny scene too, where like Ares is like doing something else, and he looks over his shoulder, and he's like, "Oh, good shit."
Oh, and it was Architect's Tomb near the top of the mountain that had the terrible puzzles that I was referencing. That's also the one where there's a puzzle you have to do like the Tetris blocks thing. There's a lot of stupid ass puzzles in the top of this place. Like that's when it overstayed its welcome for me. For Pandora's stuff, when you get to the top part, then I was like, okay, I am just tired of being here.
That puzzle where you have to push the box over to the wall before the spikes come out of the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck that puzzle.
That took me a solid like 10 to 12 times, and even when I finally got it, I don't think that I should have made it.
I just, I was like annoyed. I was like, the box shouldn't break when the spikes come out. Like, you should let me like jump onto the box and be safe, and then, continue pushing it, because it feels like that. I don't know how they timed that out, or like who on the playtesting team was really good at this game to have that timer be so fucking tight.
It's like, yeah, it should take exactly this long. Okay, remove 5 seconds from that.
Right.
I really hate when games have timing that's like you have to be precise. I forget what we played a game for the show at some point. I remember it was like the timing was just way too precise. And I had to like cheat to make it work. And I'm like, this is just too much.
They need to take whatever time it takes and add like at least 10 seconds just to have a little bit of forgiveness.
Because I don't like it when you make a single misstep and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Barry, talk about quality of life stuff, and a lot of games nowadays have options just to remove timed events from games. It's like, it's so nice.
Well, yeah, talking about the quick time events, like before, I played recently like the Detroit Become Human and stuff like that, and you could turn in the options for quick time events to be like super forgiving. So it's like, nice. Oh crap, I had to hit circle, and like you have plenty of time to hit circle. It's like extra forgiving. And I'm like, oh, that's so good. Like, that's such a quality of life thing. And you could turn it to be extreme if you really want to, pay attention. That's fine. Everyone can play the way they want. Absolutely. Things like that where turn off the times, especially after a certain time. Like, maybe they give you like a couple tries. And then if you fail and say, would you like to try again without the time restraint? You know what to do. We're just not going to punish you anymore. Like, because that's the worst part is when you know exactly what to do and you're just missing the time. And it's just frustrating because like I just don't know how to go a little faster, but I know what I need to do, and that kills you in a story-driven game. An obstacle like that prevents you from going forward. If you're having difficulties, it kills the momentum of the story, and it kills your drive to continue. And you don't want to do that for any gamer. You want them to see it, especially a series like God of War. You want them to beat God of War because then you want them to buy God of War 2, and you want them to buy God of War 3, etc. You don't want to go, well, great, there's 5 main games now and 3 spin-off titles, and I would love to get into them, but that stupid block puzzle in God of War 1.
For me, it was the walking on the beams with the spinning saw blades.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That was the one that was like, my God, I would abuse the hell out of save states right now.
You know what the funny thing about those beams? When I met my wife, before she was my wife, she had played God of War before me, and that's the part that she quit. And she told me, she said, I loved the game, but that part, beware, like I can't do it. I quit the game. I really wanted to finish it. It's terrible. So I got the game right after that Black Friday, and I played it through. And I did that perfectly the first time. Perfectly. And I was like, wait, that was the part you were having problems with? And she's like, shut the fuck up.
I was going to say, hopefully you were like, that was easy.
It was exactly what I did. I was like, that was easy.
That part, though, made me realize that the Gorgon Eyes and the Phoenix Feathers that you use to power up Kratos' health and mana, it actually gives you way more than you need to fully max them out, because there's a feather during that part, and I got it one time and was like, well, I'm not going for that. I can't do this part normally. So I went on with the game, finally got past it, and I still found enough feathers to max out my mana by the end of the game, which is pretty nice.
Well, one difference, too, is she was doing the PS2 version. I did the PS3. So I don't know if they did something different in the PS3 version to make that part easy.
I was playing the PS3 version. It didn't feel very easy.
I don't remember it being... I don't even remember that part you guys are talking about. It didn't stick with me. But then again, I beat this game over a week ago, so...
Yeah.
I don't remember as well, but yeah, if what you're saying not jumping out at me is I don't think it gave me as much trouble because usually stuff that really troubles me I remember a lot better.
Oh, but you did play this. You said you did play this on PS2. I was gonna say there's probably some PTSD because I remember specifically going like, "This is the hardest video game I've ever played."
Yeah, no, I played this on PS2 twice back in the day, like back when it came out, and then I played it again at some other point, and then I played it then for the show. But yeah, all PS2, and unfortunately, all 3 times no cheating because I couldn't. So, but I do want to talk about like the Hades part is really damn where you go to the underworld. That is really cool.
My favorite part of the game.
I remember, I vaguely remembered it, and I'm like, this is still really cool. Like earlier in the game, you have the first shadow where you see a guy digging a grave. He's like, I'm digging your grave. And you're like, okay. Well, turns out he's digging a grave to pull you out.
That's Zeus, right? Like we're all on the same page. Yeah. That's Zeus.
It has to be Zeus.
Yeah,
they're both voiced by Paul Eiding, who's the Colonel Campbell from Metal Gear Solid series. So I would be surprised if he's actually Zeus.
That would make sense too, because Zeus is also known in Greek mythology for taking different forms all the time and doing stuff like that.
I think Kratos even asked him, "He's like, who are you, old man?" He's like, "Oh, I'll never tell."
Snake.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Ares Zeus's brother though, if I remember correctly?
No, Ares is Zeus's son.
Wow, that's even worse. Okay.
Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades are all brothers.
Don't look up what Zeus did in Greek mythology.
No, I know. I've studied Greek mythology before.
He's not a good guy.
He definitely didn't turn himself into a goose and have someone have sex with him. That'd be weird. God, it's just weird. Anyway.
They like bestiality in Greek mythology. So.
So was your favorite part of Hades where you had to climb the spinning columns with the blades on them?
No. Maybe wish I had save states.
There's this trophy on the PS3 version for getting it in one go, and it just gives you it whenever you actually make it. It's like, technically that's one go. That's I got it. Like I fell multiple times.
I told you the trophies in that game felt glitched to me because it glitched me out of trophies. Because it was an early PS3 game too, like with trophies.
When I was looking at the trophy list, I was like, because I read that trophy description, I already had it from like when I played it on PS3 the first time, and I was like, damn, I don't remember doing it. I must have been really good. Like that part must not be really hard. And then I got here on this playthrough, and I was like, oh my god, this part is impossible.
Yeah, it once you get to a certain point, like I remember I stopped fucking up as much, and I'm like, I do not want to do all this over again. But yeah, no, I wish it was a part where I was like, I really want save states for this part.
Yeah, I fell a lot, and then when I finally made it, the trophy popped. I was like, I guess technically that was one go because it always starts you from the bottom.
Yeah.
Did you die at all?
I don't think I died because the blades don't. I don't.
No,
think
they don't do much damage. They just irritate the hell out of you.
Yeah, maybe that's the qualifier is that you don't die, and have to restart the checkpoint.
No, I died trying to do the platforming challenges where it's like the circular platforms and they're all spaced out and you have to jump across them, but the camera is like, I'm going to stay back here, figure this out on your own, try to figure out where you are in relevance to the platforms.
Don't you love PS2 era games?
Oh, yeah.
Terrible camera and terrible platforming.
Uh-huh. I really don't like platforming. I keep realizing in games that aren't platformers. I don't like in platformers either, but at least I accept it. And other games, I'm like, especially I do not like platforming in first-person shooters. I do not like when you make me do jump puzzles.
Yeah, how's Borderlands
Jumping in first person is tough.
I hate it.
Did you like Metroid Prime?
I did.
It has jump puzzles.
Yeah, I didn't like the jump puzzles, but I like the game.
I feel like it does. I just beat Metroid Prime yesterday. So.
The Switch version?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great remake.
It's so good.
You get a double jump. That helps.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know it didn't bother me much in Metroid Prime, but I was just got done playing Borderlands, and it bothered me in Borderlands.
I think it's because in Metroid, like on the GameCube version of Metroid Prime, whenever you jumped, Samus would look down. So, you could orient from there,
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's a quality of life thing. You can turn that on or off in the new one.
Yeah, you can. It's great.
That's cool. I love quality of life stuff in games. Like, it just makes me so happy that we are at that point now where most games have that. So, and most games are also made easy enough if you need it to be to play through it and beat it and not feel like you can't finish a game.
Yeah,
well, especially when
God of War easy, obviously.
Especially when there's story-driven games, like a game where it's literally nothing but fighting and there's no story. Then fine, whatever. But I like when games have a story difficulty where it's like we're trying to tell you this story. We want you to enjoy the game, but we also really want you to enjoy the story and not be frustrated.
That's why Hades, the Supergiant Hades, is so great, is because you can turn on that God mode, and it doesn't make the game just a pushover. It makes the game just that much easier every time you fail, because it adds 2% to your defense, I think.
Yeah, it adds a certain amount
Something.
to like after like up to 10 deaths or something.
Yeah.
That's a good game.
Yeah,
I
I
need to
love
play
when
it.
Hades did that.
Don't get me started on it, because it's a fantastic game. Mike's probably
It's also the reason why this game is on here. If you played Hades, you were all in the Greek mode. You're like, oh, what can I play next? And I'm like, well, we can do God of War on the show.
We could do 2 Human.
Nobody wants to play
Too human.
Good luck
That's
finding
like
2
Silicon
humans to do
Knights.
that podcast.
Zach
I
couldn't
mean,
even do it.
I know 2 humans that would do that podcast, me and Mike, just fine. I mean,
Oh.
but I'd have to pull out my 360 and see if it still works.
That I such good hope for Dennis Dyack and that studios after Eternal Darkness, but no, they went down the shitter.
Oh yeah, it
True.
turned out that he's not a very good guy. I don't think so.
No, Dennis Dyack is not a good guy.
Is he even around anymore? Like I think he made a studio, but they haven't actually produced
They
anything.
tried to do some Kickstarters, I think, like the spiritual
Yeah.
successor to Eternal Darkness, and it failed.
I was gonna say, I remember that.
I'm sure that 2 Human trilogy is still coming.
Oh yeah,
Did they make a sequel?
no, they got
No.
sued because they used the engine, like I think the Unreal Engine, without the license or something, and they had to pull it.
Yeah,
No,
it's just
no,
not.
but
Okay.
when
hard
one
to
came
find.
out, they had intended to make it a trilogy.
Kind of like, oh, there's an Xbox game I played.
Oh, Advent Rising.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that game had a trilogy coming too, right? Remember?
It also
It's
had a
gonna-
contest where you could
It's
like
gonna happen. Get $1
win
million.
money. Right.
That was a fake contest too, I think, if I remember
Yep.
correctly.
Fuck
You
Yeah.
couldn't actually. Nobody like when somebody won, they didn't actually have the money.
Yep.
It's like playing Mario Party and you land on one of those spaces where Bowser's supposed to give you a bunch of coins and he just yeets out of there. He's like, oh shit.
Like,
That's
this is
probably
fake.
in. That's probably in a Mario Party. I wouldn't put it past.
Oh, it is,
Nintendo
yes.
To just be like,
It's like a 10,000 coin prize or something. You land on it and he just leaves.
Yeah,
oh, I thought you were making a joke.
Oh, no,
No,
I did too.
no, when you land on Bowser, like there's a spinning wheel, and like 4 of the things are usually really negative, and one is like Bowser gives you 10,000 coins, and if it happens to land there, which is very rare, Bowser's just like, nope, bye.
Oh, man.
I haven't played a Mario Party since 1, so
So I have a question about other God of War games. Do you get more stuff than you do in this one? Because you get the 4
Yeah.
abilities and you
Yes.
get the sword and you get part of Poseidon's trident that lets you breathe underwater, which let's
Yeah,
not even get into the underwater shit.
So going back to like behind the scenes stuff, there's like concepts, and David Jaffe kind of narrates it, and he's like, "Oh, here's like our idea for like a super long jump is Icarus's wings, but we couldn't get it like fully implemented." And then he's like, "That sucked. I wish we could have put it in." But that's in the sequel.
It's also in Immortals, Phoenix Rising. They stole that
Is it?
idea.
which I'm also playing later this
I
year.
love that game.
It's
I
real
wanna-
good.
my wife played that, and she really enjoyed it, and I wanna play it, but
It's a lot of fun.
I'm not super big in open world Ubisoft games, but that one scratches an edge.
I had just finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey when we got Immortals, so I was like, I don't want to
Yeah, that's
like
understandable.
another Ubisoft Greek game.
Well, Barry and Mike, if you want, I'm doing it in August. If you guys want to join me,
Yeah,
maybe.
it's a strong possibility. I started it already, but we'll see.
I have to play it. It just looks so much up my alley, and I bought it for
Oh,
10
totally.
bucks. I bought
That's
it.
fantastic.
I bought it physically, Barry, for $10 at a toy swap. for
I
Switch.
am so
Nice.
so proud of you.
And then I also paid $20 and bought it on Steam too. Or
That does
Steam,
not
but I
surprise
have it.
me at all.
Which version did you buy physically? The Switch?
Yeah, because it just the guy had a bunch of Switch games. I'm like, and it wasn't that old. I'm like, $10, sure,
Yeah.
brand new, all right.
I've heard it runs pretty decent on there too.
Yeah, but I can't play it on the Steam Deck.
All right, I
You
guess
and
that's
Steam
true.
Deck.
I just love. I mean, it's just something about the Steam Deck for me is just perfect. Like when I play Switch game, because I only have a Switch Lite, and it's so tiny. I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Get an
Yeah.
OLED.
That was a resounding yes. Did you get more cool stuff in the future?
Yes, you
Okay,
do.
cool. It's like not God of War, Devil May Cry and stuff. The different weapons you get are a big selling point for me. So I was kind of disappointed with this one. That you get the 2 weapons and the 4 abilities, and that's pretty much it.
Oh, you don't. I don't think the other weapons you get in the games are good.
Yeah,
But,
one
like-
of the abilities.
Yeah, you get some pretty cool abilities in it.
Oh,
It's
there's that at
the,
least.
the Blades of Chaos is just so iconic and it works so well that
Yeah.
even in God of War 4 and 5, where you had the Leviathan axe as your main weapon, like when you get the Blades of Chaos, I was like, yeah, I'm switching over.
Yeah.
Although in Ragnarok, you actually have to switch between all the weapons because they have like an elemental property they add in now, where like certain enemies, if they're strong to ice, you can't use the Leviathan axe, so you do like chip damage. So you have to use the Blades of Chaos. And if they're strong to fire, you have to switch to the Leviathan axe. And then you get a couple other weapons as well. I think one other weapon's like lightning. I forget what it was now.
Nice.
And it's like, so you have a group of enemies, and some are fire and some are ice, and you have to constantly switch between.
I figured there were more because the God of War Saga, the cover has him. He's got like looks like fist weapons
He's
made
got a
out
lot
of
of shit on him.
lion
Oh, you
heads
know
or
what?
something.
Yeah, those are cool. I forgot about those.
Cool.
I like.
I
using
do
those.
definitely want to play like this. This game got me want to play more of the series, though. That's for sure. I don't
It's a
know
good
when it will
series.
happen, but I'm definitely curious more.
Yeah, I'll get to
you
2 soon.
At least the main 5 games. The spin-offs are good too. The PS5
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd say the 3, 1, 2, 3, and the PSP games are really good. Like
Yeah.
they're all in the same tier of like great to fantastic.
I forgot I actually have Ragnarok. It came with the PS5 that my wife bought.
Ragnarok is freaking amazing.
Ragnarok is good. I don't think it's as good as everyone says it is. Like it's a good story, good gameplay, but it's not game of the year in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear that it does
No.
also overstay its welcome.
Yes, it does.
Because
Well-
game of the year was Live Alive.
Live Alive is amazing.
It is so good.
It's so good. But no, like God of War Ragnarok, it's one of those cases where if you want to 100% it, there's a ton of stuff. So
Yeah.
like open area. It's not really open world. It's like open area to go around and find and explore and do all these quests. But if you also just want to finish it, it has a line. It has that line that will direct you where to go, and you could just go from point A to
Oh,
B
nice.
and go through the story and enjoy it. So you do have that option. And you could maybe find an area you go, you know what, I want to explore a little here, and you can choose to do that. And it'll tell you like on the map, like, oh, when you check the Yggdrasil tree to teleport between the realms. It's like, oh yeah, you have quests that you could do in this realm if you want to go back there.
Interesting.
Otherwise, you just go where the main story tells you to go.
It's very friendly to what you want. Like it's just like you want to dick around and do side quests. Yeah, sure. You want to do story quests. Yeah, sure.
Yep.
they don't really
Nice.
restrict you out of anything.
That's cool.
I got plenty in my play, but I'll probably get to it at some point.
Put it in your bingo, you'll get to it then for sure.
Yeah, right. Bigger card's full, at least for the moment. I keep rearranging stuff. Speaking of cool weapons from Devil May Cry, that had Pandora in 4, I think? Or it's supposed to have 666 forms that it can use to kill people. And in this game, Pandora's box makes you super big.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you see it when he finally gets to Athens and fights.
rock'em, sock'em, Kratos.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not too bad of a final boss fight. I mean, you fight him and then you beat a form of him, I think, and then you get sucked into some weird universe where you fight tons of yourself trying to kill your wife and kids to redeem yourself.
And you
That's
hug
a
them to
crazy
restore their
scene.
health.
Yeah,
Yeah.
More,
Yeah.
if you could name like all the games that had a hug button, because I know the Boy and His Blob remake had one, God of War would not been one I would expect to see on that list.
No, it is no. I will agree with that one. It's not what you expect.
But no, that fight
See-
sucks.
the thing about this game is like because I played like every game in the series, I always just attribute like, oh, you don't really get that much characterization out of Kratos in the first game. But replaying it, I'm like, oh yeah, you do get a lot of characterization like out of him, where like you see like he sees his family and he's like, oh, this is a trick of the gods, and he's like, protecting them from himself. Like I thought that was a really neat thing to do in a video game. Like that I don't attribute to 2005 God of War.
Mhm.
They played up the psychological aspect of it quite well.
Yeah, that seemed more like a page out of like 2018 and Ragnarok's more so than that one. So
That seems kind of confusing though, because he's like, I'm gonna save my family this time. Like, are they alive now?
No.
Why does he
No.
think that's gonna change anything?
It's psychological. It's just like
Yeah.
when dealing with trauma. That's what
Yeah, I
he's
guess.
coping with his trauma, is what he's doing.
That's
Because
a way to
think
put it.
about it, if you killed your wife and child, you would be dealing with trauma, like especially
Oh.
accidentally.
Fair.
Michael, I'm sorry. You asked like, oh, when the narrator says he climbed on the back for 3 days.
Yeah.
That's at the beginning, because I was about to say the beginning is kind of a bummer opening too, where he they're like, oh, and then Kratos plunged himself into the Aegean Sea, and then it says 3 days earlier.
Oh,
So like
Also, the whole game is 3
him
days.
jumping off the cliff is like 3 days after the events of the game.
weird.
That is weird. That's also, I forgot that that's the opening of this game that he jumps off the cliff.
Yeah.
Because him jumping off the cliff is after he killed Ares, right? Then?
Mm-hmm. Because
Yeah.
like
It's where the game tries to end, and then Athena's like, nope.
I'm
yeah,
gonna
they
make you
brings
God
him
of War.
back up. Yeah.
Okay. And then after you kill Ares, and he becomes the god of war.
It's because he's dealing with the trauma and he did his revenge. So he feels like, that's it. I did it. I'm going to die and go be with my parent, with my wife and child. And Athena's like, no.
The whole thing is he had made a deal, like, he was working under the assumption that once he kills Ares, the gods would forgive him, like, what he did, and he wouldn't have to deal with the memory of that. And then after he kills Ares, Athena is like, oh no, like, you still have to live.
We never said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, she's like, we can forgive you, but you will always remember what you did. And then, that's when he's like, oh, the gods of Olympus have abandoned me.
I forgot they did that thing where you start at the end and then work your way there, because we talked about starting the game with the big set piece. Like,
Yeah.
I was thinking, why not start at the end of the battle, like with Ares, and then go back to the beginning to kind of do that whole thing, so you're not getting that high, low, high thing, which you're going to get anyway, but it makes more sense, I guess.
Because I completely forgot this opening that he almost commits suicide. I forgot all of this.
It's because it's a shocking opening. It's like, oh, here's this badass why he's killing himself at the very beginning of the game. What happened? And you want to know, why is he throwing himself off the cliff?
Yeah,
It's like a Christopher Nolan movie.
it's a really good setup.
Again, it wasn't.
Yeah,
anyway,
You know what? I almost expected as he was doing it, he stopped. So hi, my name is Kratos, and I'm.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
Probably wondering how I got here. Let's go back.
That would have been great.
Thankfully, not one of those games.
Could have played into that Canadian Kratos we talked about before we started the episode. Oh, hey, you're probably wondering how I got here.
It is cool. The very last moment that you sit on the throne of Ares.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The setup, like, that's such a cool setup to go right into 2, and don't get too hyped about that setup because they don't do really anything with it.
You see, I played a little bit of 2. I think I rented 2 back in 2007 or 2007, but I don't remember anything about it. Like, I have no. I didn't get very far whenever I did play it.
2's awesome.
So.
2 is also one of the last PS2 games released by. I think it was the last Sony release.
Yeah.
PS2.
We definitely want to play 2.
Same. This got me more interested to play 2, and 2's been one of those games I was like, I really should knock this off my backlog and finally play it. I'm like, one day maybe, but
I cannot overstate how amazing 2 was, because like when I got God of War 1, it was right after God of War 2 released, and so like I beat God of War 1, and then I went to GameStop and bought God of War 2 because I was just like, this is fucking great, and 2 is just, oh my god, blew me socks off.
I did that with Dead Space.
That's got to be so good. That's got to be a good experience.
Yeah, I think I've said on the show before, I downloaded the Dead Space demo and I hated it, but I ended up picking up the first game on like a whim because it was like a buy 2 get 1, and ended up something clicked that time, and I beat it in like a weekend, and it was just before 2 was coming out, so I could go get 2 immediately after.
Oh man,
It's pretty rad.
did you guys know that there's like secret phone numbers you can call?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
where?
I think they're still active too.
I believe
The
they
actual
are.
phone numbers you call?
Yeah, real phone numbers.
It's like 1-800 numbers. One you get from beating the Challenge of the Gods, and the other one you get when you destroy both the statues in Ares' throne room.
Yep.
And I know I've seen a clip of David Jaffe pissed off that the phone numbers got put on the internet, because like the quote is like, "Fuck you, you guys didn't earn that." I just don't know where I've seen it, but I know it exists, where he's like pissed off that, it was posted.
Well, of course, everything gets. I mean, maybe 2005 wasn't. No, internet was big in 2005, so I got nothing.
Yeah.
David Jaffe is a very weird individual who I think I get why he was upset about that, only because you work so hard to do something cool and then other people just get it. But at the same time, I think as the years have gone on, he's kind of degraded himself. I'm sure you've seen the clip of him playing Metroid Dread.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot that was him.
That was him. Same guy. This is bad game design. How are you supposed to know to shoot the enemies?
It was like
Okay.
one block, I think, and he was
Yeah.
mad.
He was
And
mad.
it's like,
I'll give him credit. There are some bad game design elements in that game, but that's not one of them. He's a cool dude, though. I listened to him. He's on. He's been on a few episodes of The Elitist, and he's seems like a nice enough guy. But yeah, I imagine this whole developing games and stuff is probably not the best.
He got lucky with Twisted Metal and God of War, and then he really
yeah, his
didn't do much. after
Drawn to Death, I think it was called. That
Sounds familiar.
multiplayer game.
that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then he came back to do Twisted Metal on the PS3, and that
That
didn't
game
do
was
anything.
woof.
Yeah, big miss.
I don't know what he's even working on now.
I think he just streams and gets mad
Yeah.
at people on Twitter.
Did he? He only
No,
did God of War 1,
that's Adam
right?
Sessler.
Adam Sessler does that. He didn't do 2, did he?
No.
He was just 1.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad. All he did was one. Didn't come back for other ones.
Well, I think that's kind of like what they do though on those games, because 3 is even a different person than 2, and then 4 is Cory Barlog again, and then 5 is someone completely new. I think they just take like story elements, but they say like, "Hey, make it your own thing."
He's attributed as the creative director for 2, and that was the last one. It's got his name on it.
Oh,
Oh, that's sad. I always thought he was more in the series than that, but that makes sense though.
With Twisted Metal, did he only do the first one in PS3, or did he do that whole series as well?
well,
1,
considering
2,
how good Twisted
Black
Metal 2
and-
is.
yeah, 1, 2, Black, and the PS3 one,
Oh.
Okay.
and Mickey Mania on Super Nintendo.
Ooh.
There you go.
All right. Do you have any last thing you guys want to say before we go on to questions, comments, or memories?
Was Aphrodite in this game? I feel like he talks to her once.
You get her necklace.
Oh, there was that.
I don't remember anything else with her though.
Doesn't she give you a power?
Yeah, I want to say she gives you.
I think she gives you Poseidon's Rage.
Oh no, she's the one that gives you the Minotaur thing, or was that, or the no? Jesus Christ!
I don't remember.
Medusa's
No, I don't
Jesus
think
Christ?
Jesus Christ was in this game.
Yeah, where's that? That's gonna be the next reboot, is where you do Christianity.
Probably.
They've joked about that. Like,
Yeah,
I think David Jaffe has gone on record saying they were going to go either to Egypt or Christianity.
Yeah, good luck Christianity.
Oh yeah,
I hope
that
that
one
goes
Your game will
That
be
gets
banned in the
shut down.
South.
Oh,
I
States.
want to do Christianity so badly.
I mean, I'll enjoy it. I'll play the hell out of it. I mean, I actually might play it then, but I can tell you there would be states that'd be like, this game was made by Satan. Like,
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, I was right. She's the one that gives you the Medusa's gaze,
Oh okay.
okay.
and then she's in 3 apparently.
Yes.
Oh, and I have something I haven't done in a while. I have a code to give away.
Oh
Like,
shit!
Oh, nice.
I have a bunch of codes. I lost all my old codes, actually. I was upset about that, so I don't want to do that again. First, the Steam code for a game that you probably don't want, but Anomaly Warzone Earth, because I have it. And the code is L4TWRQ9NA053R7Z. And that's for Anomaly Warzone Earth on Steam.
Well, I'm so glad I had Steam open. Thanks for the game. I'm just kidding.
Hey, the funny thing is, like, I have a friend Watt who goes back and listens to a lot of these old episodes, and he's redeemed codes from years later. So hey, you never know. It might be there at some point. Like you listen to the people don't grab
Good
codes
luck,
as much. Like, oh, someone else did.
Uh-huh.
We're not. I mean, we have listeners, but we're not that big. And bots can't easily grab it. Not like I'm part of a Facebook group called something with Steam Deck, and like they used to post codes a lot, and like every time they post codes, just bots would just grab it immediately.
Ugh.
So it's like,
That's terrible.
so then they would post it and like they would mess with it, so you only get part of it in the post, part of it in the comments, and then that way the bots couldn't get it. So yeah, that's how Facebook works. If you post a Steam code, a bot will immediately grab it.
Nice.
So all right, we'll go to questions, comments, or memories. I got a few. I wasn't sure I was going to get much for this game just because I was like, you just never know with games. Some people surprise me though. But let's see. All right, first from the official Laser Time community, I got one from Chris Lichos. I remember kind of hating it at first. It was simpler than DMC, so in my mind it was crap. So I stopped an hour or two in. Years later, I went back and finally clicked, eventually leading me to play every God of War game. I feel like the formula saw some massive improvements over time, so I probably won't play the original anymore, but I have seen some speedruns now and then to bring back memories. Yeah, it's sometimes hard to go back. Isn't that right, Mike?
I was shocked about.
Ratchet and Clank?
Yeah. Infamous one.
There's more than that, but I know that was the one that you're like, oh no. Like, this game is not good.
Yeah.
I watched the entire Orblood Super Replay. From Caleb Zurkowski. I think it was the first game I ever played with nudity in it. I definitely remember seeing the harpies show up and thinking, whoa, those are titties. Are they even allowed to do that? So I had to wait until my parents went to sleep in order to play it. That's probably why I don't remember much of the voice acting or soundtrack, because I had to put the volume super low. One of these days, I need to revisit these first 2 games just to experience them without anxiety of parents suddenly walking into the room.
I thought he was going to say turn the volume low so we can focus. He didn't really recognize the story because he was too focused on the boobies.
That's funny, though. I mean, again, no subtitles, so you can't hear anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And from Jerry Floyd, getting out of Hades in that game was so damn frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right. And I got a few from the Giant Bomb Group. First one from Joe Butler, friend of the show. I love the first God of War, but it definitely is a game studio's first game. 3 major boss fights in a 6 to 8 hour little package. Also, Kratos is the beginning of a long line of just huge scumbag characters. I also personally believe it started to make QuickTime events popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I know other games did it. I know we talked about it earlier, but I can't even remember like what games, besides Resident Evil 4, like what games had QuickTime events at this time that are big, or even if they were not big.
There were probably a bunch that we just don't remember because we
Right.
played them.
Yeah, this is the one I always come back to when I think of them.
This and RE4, yeah, same.
Yeah.
Plus also the 2 big games of that time.
Which one came first? Which released first?
I think RE4 is
I think
2004,
RE4.
wasn't it? Or is it 2005 too?
I thought it was 2005.
I don't know.
I think it
I
would.
can tell you in shortly. Resident 2005.
Oh yeah, it was
But when in
January.
2005?
Resident Evil 4 is January 11th. I
Oh.
doubt God of War came out before that.
It
I
did
think that
not.
was in March of 2005.
They were in
You are
development
correct.
at the same
March
time.
22nd.
Yeah.
That's wild. I know. Why do I know that?
I got nothing. Because you researched for the podcast. That's why, right?
Absolutely, Mike.
Okay. We'll go with that. From Cole Gaston, the main menu was the most amazing graphics I'd ever seen at the time. I didn't think games could look any better. From Hector Diaz, it's still a pretty entertaining game, but I gotta blame it in RE4 for making QTEs the norm for the rest of that decade.
There you go.
And from Brandon Murray, I remember I was in college and was obsessed with avoiding mainstream things and sellouts, and wasn't playing PS2 games because if that's what everyone played, and I would be a sellout if I played PS2. GameCube only, baby. But then I saw this trailer and was like, well, I no longer care about the stupid moral code I had. Played the crap out of this game. I agree. I think there's no point. Like, I had that thinking too when I was in high school. I remember that, but enjoy it.
Just play what you like.
Yeah.
I mean, in high school, I had long hair and everything, and I was I was trying to be different. But that changed. All right, from Dominic Gurrell. Just last year, I dusted off the PS3 and went through all of them again. The game is still fun all these years later. Fun to watch the development of the series over the PS2/PS3 games. And last question from Tim Hansen. I remember getting a demo disc from Pizza Hut that had God of War on it. The demo played until the end of the Hydra fight. I replayed that so many times until I got the game a few years later.
That could be the whole game.
Yeah, I mean,
And then
That's
at that
part of the
point, you
game.
wanted to skip the Hydra fight because you played it so many times.
all right. And that brings us to our last segment, Shelf Stacker Box. And Nate, why don't you go first?
I am going to put this on the stack. I think it is a good video game, and I think that it started a lot of things right for the franchise, but the sequels are just way better.
All right. And what about you, Barry?
You know what? I'm going to echo that. I'm going to put on the stack too. It is a great game for its time. It's excellent for its time. It has not aged as gracefully because of the lack of quality, life improvements that have come since then and what we expect from a game. The story itself, however, is fantastic. And if you're interested in the God of War series, there's no negatives really to start with this one to get the story. But it's also one of those where if you find it archaic in controls and you're not feeling it, it's also okay to just watch a summary of the first game and go to 2. Don't miss out on this series because of the first game. So that's why I would say stack.
Okay. And what about you, Mike?
Same thing. Like I kind of alluded to at the top of the episode, is I can see why 2 is everyone's favorite, because if you take the core mechanics of this game and polish them up, get rid of some of the bad stuff, I could see this being just a phenomenal, fun-ass game. So I'm super excited to play 2, but I'm going to put this one in the stack, I guess. It's like low stack, almost in the box, because like the parts I liked were fun, but they seemed to be few and far between as the game went on, and it was more frustration than anything, because I'm a spoiled brat.
No, you play a lot of new games.
True.
So you got to be like me and not play anything past like 360 PS3 era for the most part. Then you don't even realize like I played Miles Morales earlier this year, and I was like, wow, look at all these quality of life and the way the game is. And it's the one game I play, and I go back to old stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the trick.
Yeah,
don't play new stuff. You don't realize what you're missing.
I gotta get to Spy Fiction at some point this year. We'll see how that goes.
I do need to play that one day because you've been talking about it for years
since I joined. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to play it though. All right, now I'll go last. I'm gonna put this in the box. I had fun, but I was ready for it to be done too, and I don't really see myself. I wouldn't play it again. I've beaten the game 3 times now in my life, and I think that's plenty. I'm done. But it's still a good game. It's not a bad game. It just wasn't. It wasn't for me. It wasn't really my type of game. I just played it to go. Well, it was on the show, and I had fun. But I have no interest in going back ever again. But I do want to play more of the series. I definitely do want to do that. All right. And Barry, where can people? Oh yeah, I forgot. I should mention what we're talking about next week. Next week we are going to be covering Borderlands. You get to hear us talk about Borderlands and my first time ever playing it, or was my first time ever playing it.
Just you.
Wow.
You and your guests.
I wonder how that will turn out.
Actually, one of the guests is Nate's on that episode too.
Oh, well, there you go.
Me and Nate are coming back. Yeah, it's never played Borderlands 1 before, and I finally somebody suggested it a long ass time ago on one of my Facebook messages. On the podcast like 2 years ago. I was like, I finally got to it, buddy. Whoever you are, I'll look up your name next time, but finally got to it.
It's going to be a lot of echoing this game. It's like, hey, this set up some cool things, but the sequel did it better.
See, I never played the sequel, so that helps,
Yeah, two's pretty good.
Yes.
All right. And now to say what I was going to say. Barry, where can people find you at?
You could find me on Twitter at HawkHellfire. You could find me at nintendofuse.com and youtube.com/nintendofuse, where we do a podcast every other Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern live, as well as premiumeditiongames.com, where you could pre-order and as well as order in stock physical titles for the Switch and the PS4/5.
I'm digital, but that's still very cool.
You and your digital. You're part of the problem, Mike.
Yes, with the games that I wouldn't buy anyway, but yes, because I don't buy Switch. It's awesome what you do. I really like the fact that you guys do what you do.
You literally just talked about buying, Immortal Phoenix Rising for physical for Switch, and you just said now you don't buy Switch. You lying hypocrite!
I don't buy much Switch.
I love the Switch, so I'll balance it out.
Yeah, Switch is fantastic.
Again, I think if I had a real Switch and not a Switch Lite, I'd be more interested. I think that's a big part of it for me.
Get an OLED.
Get an OLED, man.
But I have a version of the Switch right next to me just doesn't play Switch games right now. But I will someday, so hey.
No, it won't.
I know. I thought about buying the OLED, to be honest with you. Like, maybe one day. We'll see. It's on my mind, but...
Look, Mike, the second you buy the OLED, they're going to announce the Pro or the Switch too. So go ahead and do it now, and this way we can handle all those rumors.
But if it makes you feel better, those rumors have been floating since 2017.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
You can just buy a Switch and be okay.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with that. I just don't... I was either going to buy a Switch or a PS5, and I bought a Steam Deck instead, so...
Hey, there's rumors that there's a Tears of the Kingdom OLED.
Yes, there is.
So that might
know how much
chance.
I love Breath of the Wild.
That's to say,
my
you guys
favorite
really
Zelda game that I didn't play, really. I paid $60 for.
I heard how much you loved it.
I need to replay it. I have to replay Breath of the Wild because I did not give it a fair chance. I just beat Dark Souls, and I wasn't in the mood for more Dark Souls. That was the issue, and I gotta go back. All right, enough of that crap. If you want to support the show, we do have a Patreon. You'll see a link in the show notes. Right now, the poll for this month is Marvel movies that Mike has never seen. It's either Punisher, Warzone, Daredevil, Elektra, or Hulk 2003 version. So you get to vote which one we're going to cover. So for Little Dog, you can vote in the poll and you support the show. And also, we have Discord. If you want to join our Discord and chat with us, you'll see a link in the show notes for that. And we always appreciate that. And I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Hasphere. You can follow her on TikTok. You'll see a link in the show notes. And want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who started his own podcast, The Gamer Looks at 40, where he has been going through the whole Zelda series. So definitely go check out all that work he puts into it, because he puts way more work into that show than I do for this show. So, hey.
He doesn't do it. Well, I guess he kind of does it every week.
He does. He interviews multiple people, cuts up. Like, hell, we did an interview, me and him, and then like a year later, he's still posting stuff from when we talked.
Yeah.
Like that, I mean, what he does is like, it's incredible. But like, I'm like, no, thank you. I get a bunch of people together and we talk about a game and then other stuff, and then I just go, edit, cut out, silent. Here we go. Here's your product. I saved this for 2 years. I can't do that. I give him props. But yeah, definitely go check him out. Support him. He's a good guy. And Yeah, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.